He used to sleep through every storm. Now, every thunder makes him tremble. You can see it in his eyes. Fear where there used to be peace. But this isn't weakness. It's the cost of love and age.
It's one of those things that can be just so confusing and honestly a little heartbreaking. Your best friend, your loyal companion who's been with you for years, suddenly becomes terrified of something they've always just slept through. One minute they're fine, the next a storm rolls in and it's like you have a completely different dog. So let's get into it and figure out what on earth is going on.
And this isn't some abstract idea, right? This is a real question from a dog owner, probably posting in the middle of a storm, just totally baffled. For years, their dog was the picture of calm. Now, not so much. And you know what? It's a surprisingly common story. So if this sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone in this.
And wow, this quote, this just perfectly captures what it feels like. A Reddit user talking about their 10-year-old dog's sudden change. We're talking shaking, crying, desperately trying to hide, trying to climb into their lap, leap over baby gates, anything to feel safe. It's just this raw, emotional account of pure panic, and you can feel the stress for both the dog and, of course, the owner.
All right, so let's dig into this sudden fear, because that's the key word here, isn't it? It's not this slow, gradual thing. For so many people with older dogs, it feels like it happens out of nowhere. Yeah, it's like a switch was flipped overnight. That's what you hear people say over and over. One day, your dog is literally snoozing through a crazy thunderstorm. The next day, the tiniest rumble sends them into a total panic. It seems so random, but I promise you, there are real, concrete reasons behind it, and we're going to unpack them. Okay, so we've got the what down. Now for the big question, why? Right? Why now, after all these years of being totally fine? Well, the answer really boils down to the natural aging process. It pretty much boils down to two main things. First up, hearing changes. See, as a dog's hearing starts to fade, it doesn't just get quieter. Some sounds, some frequencies can actually become way more jarring, even painful. And that makes their startle response go way up. Then there's cognitive decline. Just like with people, older dogs can get a bit confused. Their brains just don't process things the same way, and a big, loud, overwhelming event like a thunderstorm becomes way harder to handle.
And this is a perfect real-world example of that. This person's senior dog, totally fine her whole life, suddenly became terrified of everything. The wind, the dishwasher, you name it. And what was the cause? Turns out she was going deaf, which made her hypersensitive to the sounds she could still hear clearly. It's a classic case.
Okay, so now we understand the why, which honestly is half the battle. But now for the most important part, right? What can we actually do about it? So let's put together your calming toolkit. These are practical things you can do to help your dog feel safe again. First things first, you gotta know what to look for. Fear isn't always just barking or whining. Sometimes it's much quieter. So keep an eye out for these top 3 signs. Trembling or shaking. That worried look they get with their brow all furrowed and their ears pinned back. And then there's what's called abnormal clinginess. They just will not leave your side. Spotting these early is your first big step. Look, the absolute best approach here is to be proactive. You want to build them a little sanctuary before the storm ever hits. So step 1, find a safe space, an interior room, like a closet or even a bathroom, away from all the windows. Step 2, muffle the senses. Use a white noise machine or a fan, close the blinds to block out the lightning, pile in some soft blankets. And step 3, and this is key, make it a positive place. This needs to be their den, a place they feel totally secure. And that right there is the absolute key. This space should be associated with peace, not panic. You gotta introduce them to this spot during calm, happy times. Bring in special treats, their favorite toys, make it a great place to be. You just don't want the only time they ever go in there to be when they're already frickin' out. It's all about building that positive vibe. All right, now let's talk about you, because your role in this is absolutely huge. Your dog looks to you for cues. So if you're stressed, if you're frustrated, you're only gonna make their fear worse. You have to be their steady rock. Your calm energy is literally their anchor. So stay close, speak in a low, steady voice, and just let them come to you for comfort. Seriously, your presence is the most powerful tool you have. Okay, creating a safe space is fantastic for managing the fear in the moment. But what about a long-term fix? Well, that's where we get into the really cool stuff, actively retraining your dog's brain. So the gold standard here is a method called desensitization and counter conditioning. I know, it sounds super technical, right? But the idea is actually really simple. You're basically reintroducing the scary thing, the sound of thunder, at a super, super low level that doesn't trigger any fear. And at the same time, you're pairing it with something awesome, like their favorite treat. You are literally rewriting their brain's programming from thunder is terrifying to thunder means I get chicken. How cool is that?
So, how do you actually do this? Okay, step 1. Teach a really solid settle or relax on a specific mat. Once they've got that, move to step 2. You play a recording of thunder, but so quietly they can barely even hear it. Step 3, as long as they stay calm, they get tons of praise and treats. And finally, step 4, over many, many little sessions, you slowly, and I mean slowly, turn up the volume. The absolute key here is patience. If you see any anxiety, you've gone too far. Just dial it back and try again another day. No big deal. Now, management and training are incredibly powerful tools, but we have to be honest. For some dogs, the phobia is just too severe. The panic is so deep that you're going to need to bring in the pros, and that means it's time to call the vet. And it is so important to understand how much things have changed in veterinary medicine. You know, the old way was to use a heavy sedative like acepromazine. But here's the horrible truth about that. It just paralyzed the dog's body. It didn't do anything for the fear in their mind. So you had a terrified dog trapped in a body that couldn't move. It was awful. Today's modern anti-anxiety meds, they are a world away. They actually work on the brain chemistry to calm the panic itself without just knocking the dog out.
And you've got options here. There are event-only meds like Sileo, which is this cool gel you put on their gums right when a storm hits. Or for dogs with really deep, profound anxiety, a vet might prescribe a daily medication, kind of like an antidepressant for people, just to lower their overall stress level. But here's the bottom line. Always, always, always consult your vet. This is a team effort, and they'll help you find the perfect solution for your individual dog.
All right, we have covered a lot. The science behind the fear, how to manage it, how to train for it, even the medical options. So let's bring it all home and focus on your most important job, being your dog's protector.
Look, being prepared is everything. It's peace of mind for you and for your dog. So here's your final checklist. Know when storms or fireworks are coming up. Get those calming aids or meds refilled ahead of time. Don't wait till the last minute. Keep reinforcing that safe space so it's always ready. And please, please make sure their microchip and ID tags are up to date. A panicked dog can be an escape artist, and that ID is their ticket back home.
And I just love this quote because it really puts it all in perspective. The storms, the fireworks, they're temporary. But the trust you're building with your dog through all this, that leaves a lasting impact. This whole challenge, it's not just a problem to solve. It's an opportunity to show them that you are their safe harbor. The storm will always pass, but their trust in you, that's forever.
So that's what we'll leave you with. You have the toolkit now. You know why this is happening, and you have a whole bunch of ways to help. It's about turning that feeling of helplessness into action, because in their most vulnerable moments, they're looking right at you. So the only question left is, how will you be their steady rock?